The message arrived at the Galactic Council's Emergency Broadcast Center at 1427 Standard Time, carried by a damaged courier ship that barely held together long enough to transmit its contents. Council Adjutant Vexthera watched the holographic display flicker as the desperate plea played for the third time. "This is Commander Zilnacta of the Helios Defense Fleet. Our colony worlds are under attack by the Kythera swarm. Repeat, the Kythera have returned. We are requesting immediate military assistance from any council member capable of providing aid. Our defenses are failing. Time remaining, approximately 72 standard hours before total system collapse." The blue-skinned adjutant's skill slits fluttered nervously as she processed the implications. The Kythera swarm had been dormant for over 3 centuries, sleeping in the void between galaxies. Their return meant only one thing: they had grown hungry again, and entire star systems would be consumed to feed their endless appetite. Vexthera activated her communication array and began sending priority alerts to every council member world. The responses came swiftly, but each one carried the same disappointing message. The Altarian Republic was dealing with internal rebellions. The Centauri Federation had committed their fleets to border disputes with the Omega Syndicate. The Crystalline Collective was undergoing their ritual hibernation cycle. One by one, every major power in the galaxy offered their regrets, but no ships. Hours passed as the list of rejections grew longer. The Helios system's fate seemed sealed until a junior communications officer named Pixandra approached Vexthera's station with a puzzled expression on her scaled face. "Adjutant, I've been monitoring the outer rim frequencies as ordered, but I'm receiving some unusual responses to the emergency broadcast." Vexthera's 4 eyes rotated toward the younger officer. "Unusual how?" "Well, there are several species responding that aren't in our official council member database. They're using translation protocols I've never seen before, and their ship classifications don't match any known fleet designations." "Show me." Pixandra activated a secondary display, and Vexthera watched as a series of messages scrolled past. The first came from something called the Terran Colonial Marine Expeditionary Force. The second from the Human Deep Space Navy. A third from Earth Defense Command Outer Rim Patrol. Humans? Vexthera had heard the name before, whispered in trading posts and mentioned in xenobiology reports, but always as a minor species from some backwater system. What are humans doing this far from their homeworld? Pixandra manipulated the display, highlighting the most recent transmission. "This one just came in, Adjutant." The sender identifies as Captain Sarah Chen, commanding the UES Retribution, leading elements of Task Force Hammer. She says they're, quote, 20 minutes out from the Helios system and ready to engage hostile forces. The adjutant's gill slits stopped moving entirely. 20 minutes? That was impossible. The nearest human colony was supposed to be weeks away at maximum hyperspace velocity. Are you certain about the timestamp on this transmission? Verified and double-checked, Adjutant. But there's more. I'm detecting massive hyperspace distortions along the Helios transit corridor. Whatever's coming, it's big. Before Vexthera could respond, her primary console erupted with priority alerts. The automated early warning systems throughout the sector were screaming about massive fleet movements. She pulled up the tactical display and felt her heart skip a beat. 37 hyperspace signatures had just appeared at the edge of the Helios system, each one massive enough to register as a Dreadnought-class vessel. But the energy readings were unlike anything in the Council database. These ships weren't just big, they were radiating power levels that defied conventional understanding. "Get me a direct channel to this Captain Chen immediately," Vexthera ordered. The communication array crackled to life, and suddenly, the command center was filled with a voice speaking accented galactic standard. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Retribution responding to Galactic Council Emergency Broadcast 77 Alpha. We have visual confirmation of Kythera swarm elements engaged with friendly forces. Task Force Hammer is moving to assist. Please advise any Council ships to maintain minimum safe distance of 50,000 kilometers from engagement zone." Vexthera activated her transmitter with trembling claws. "Captain Chen, this is Council Adjutant Vexthera. Your arrival is unexpected. The Helios Defense Fleet is down to minimal operational capacity. The Kythera have already consumed 2 outer worlds and are advancing on the primary colony. Are you certain your forces can handle this level of threat? There was a pause, and then, Captain Shen's voice returned with what Vexthera would later recognize as distinctly human amusement. Adjutant, we appreciate your concern, but humans have been dealing with galaxy-eating bugs for longer than you might think. Task Force Hammer consists of 37 heavy warships, each carrying full marine complements and enough firepower to sterilize a small moon. We've also brought specialized anti-swarm weapons that should prove quite effective. The tactical display updated as the human fleet moved deeper into the system. Vexthera watched in fascination as the ships arranged themselves in a formation she'd never seen before. Instead of the typical Council approach of maintaining maximum distance while exchanging long-range fire, the humans were accelerating directly toward the swarm. Captain, our tactical analysis suggests the Kythera have approximately 4,000 bioships in 3 separate hive clusters. Standard Council doctrine recommends maintaining defensive positions and attempting to contain the swarm until reinforcements arrive. Another pause, longer this time. Adjutant, with respect, Council doctrine hasn't faced a Kythera swarm in 300 years. We've been fighting them continuously for the last 50. Trust me, defensive positions just give them time to breed more warriors. The only way to stop a swarm is to hit them hard, hit them fast, and make sure you kill every last one of them before they can adapt. Pixandra looked up from her sensor station with wide eyes. Adjutant, I'm reading weapons signatures from the human fleet. These energy levels, they're off the scale. How is that possible? Vexthera was beginning to wonder the same thing. According to every report she'd ever read, humans were supposed to be a relatively primitive species, barely capable of interstellar travel. Yet here was a fleet that made Council dreadnoughts look like escort vessels. Captain Chen, if I may ask, how did your fleet arrive so quickly? Our calculations show the nearest human world is at least 3 weeks away. That would be correct if we came from the colonies, Adjutant. But, Task Force Hammer operates out of the Deep Space Mobile Fleet-based designation Prometheus Station. We maintain a patrol route through this sector specifically to watch for Kythera incursions. When your emergency broadcast went out, we were already en route. The implication hit Vexthera like a physical blow. Humans had been patrolling Council space without authorization, maintaining secret military installations, and somehow tracking the movements of a threat that Council intelligence believed to be dormant. Either humans were far more advanced than anyone realized, or they knew something about the Kythera that the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Captain, I need to ask, how long have humans been monitoring Kythera activity? This time, the pause was so long that Vexthera began to wonder if the connection had been lost. When Captain Chen finally responded, her tone had shifted from professional courtesy to something much more serious. Adjutant, that's a conversation for after we finish cleaning up this mess. Right now, I need to focus on keeping the Helios colonies from becoming bug food. Task Force Hammer is beginning attack run Alpha. I recommend you pull any Council observers back to minimum safe distance and prepare to document the engagement for your superiors. The tactical display updated again, and Vexthera watched as the human ships accelerated to combat speed. The Kythera swarm, sensing the approaching threat, began to coalesce into their standard defensive formation. Bioships the size of frigates merged together into larger constructs while smaller warrior forms spread out in a screening pattern. Pixandra, are you recording all of this? Yes, Adjutant. Full sensor logs and communications records. But, I have to ask, what do you think they meant about fighting the Kythera for 50 years? That's impossible, right? The swarm has been dormant. Vexthera didn't answer immediately. She was too busy watching the sensor readings as the first human ship, the UES Retribution, opened fire. The weapon's discharge was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Instead of the typical plasma lances or particle beams favored by Council militaries, the human ship unleashed something that her sensors could only classify as unknown energy type. The effect on the Kythera bioships was immediate and devastating. Entire clusters of warrior forms simply ceased to exist, not destroyed but somehow unmade at the molecular level. The larger hive constructs, normally capable of regenerating from any damage short of complete atomization, began to dissolve like acid had been poured on them. By the void, Pixandra whispered. What kind of weapons are those? Before Vexthera could speculate, 36 more human ships opened fire in a coordinated barrage that lit up the entire Helios system. The Kythera swarm, which had been methodically consuming everything in its path just minutes before, suddenly found itself facing an enemy that fought with weapons specifically designed to counter their biological advantages. Adjutant, Captain Chen's voice cut through the stunned silence in the command center.
You might want to contact the Helios Defense Fleet and let them know they can stand down. Task Force Hammer has this situation well in hand.
We should have the system cleared within the next 6 hours.
6 hours.
The Kythera swarm that had been projected to overrun the entire system within 3 days was going to be eliminated in 6 hours by a human fleet that nobody even knew existed. Vexthera activated her emergency communication array and began composing a priority message to the Galactic Council High Command. She had a feeling that everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans was about to change dramatically. Commander Zilnakta of the Helios Defense Fleet had been preparing for death when the impossible happened. His tactical display, which had shown nothing but advancing Kythera bioships for the past 18 hours, suddenly erupted with new contacts. 37 massive signatures had appeared at the system's edge, moving with a coordination and purpose that made his surviving bridge crew lean forward in amazement.
Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel.
They're human, sir.
Zilnakta's scaled hands gripped his command chair.
He'd heard stories about humans, mostly dismissed as exaggerated tales from Outer Rim traders. They were supposed to be a young species, barely past their own homeworld, certainly not capable of fielding the kind of fleet that was now burning toward the Kythera swarm at velocities that should have been impossible.
Put them through. Commander Zilnakta, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Retribution.
We're here to assist with your Kythera problem. Please pull your remaining ships back to the inner system and maintain a safe distance.
We'll handle the cleanup from here. The casual confidence in the human captain's voice was almost insulting. Zilnakta had been fighting the Kythera for 3 days straight, watching his fleet get systematically torn apart by an enemy that adapted to every tactic he tried. His remaining 12 ships were running on emergency power, their crews exhausted and their weapons nearly depleted.
Captain Chen, I appreciate the offer of assistance, but you don't understand what you're facing.
The Kythera aren't just another hostile species.
They learn from every engagement, adapt to every weapon type. My fleet has tried everything in our tactical database, and nothing has been effective for more than a few hours.
Commander, trust me when I say that humans understand the Kythera better than you might think. We've been studying them for decades. Just pull back and let us work. Zilnakta was about to argue when his weapons officer called out from across the bridge. Commander, you need to see this.
The human ships are opening fire, and the energy readings, they're off every scale we have. The main display shifted to show the lead human ship as it engaged the nearest cluster of Kythera bioships.
What happened next defied everything Zilnakta thought he knew about space combat.
Instead of the typical exchange of plasma fire and missile barrages, the human ship unleashed weapons that seemed to unravel the Kythera at a fundamental level.
Bioships that had shrugged off his fleet's heaviest weapons simply came apart like they were made of paper.
The characteristic Kythera adaptation response, where damaged vessels would rapidly evolve countermeasures, never even triggered. Whatever the humans were using, it was hitting the swarm at a level their biological systems couldn't compensate for.
How is that possible? His science officer whispered.
Before anyone could speculate, 36 more human ships joined the attack. The coordinated barrage lit up space like a small star had been born in the Helios system. Kythera bioships that had seemed indestructible just moments before were dissolving into component molecules.
Captain Chen, what kind of weapons are you using? Our sensors can't identify the energy type. Quantum dissolution arrays, Commander. Specifically designed to disrupt the bioelectric fields that hold Kythera organisms together. We learned a long time ago that you can't fight biology with conventional physics. You have to get creative. Quantum dissolution arrays. Zilnakta had never heard the term before, but he was watching their effectiveness in real time.
The Kythera swarm, which had been methodically advancing on the inner planets just an hour ago, was now in full retreat.
But the humans weren't letting them escape. Commander, this is Captain Chen again.
I'm deploying marine assault craft to board the larger hive constructs.
My people need to make sure we get every last one of them before they can spawn a new generation. Board them? Captain, that's suicide. Kythera bioships are filled with warrior forms specifically designed to repel boarders.
Not when they're being hit with neurological suppressors and atmospheric toxins tailored specifically for Kythera biology.
Commander, humans have been boarding Kythera ships for 50 years. We know exactly what we're doing.
50 years.
There was that number again. Zilnacta was beginning to realize that everything the galaxy thought it knew about human capabilities was completely wrong.
While the Council had been treating them as a minor species barely worth acknowledging, humans had apparently been fighting the greatest threat in the galaxy for half a century.
His tactical display updated to show dozens of small craft launching from the human fleet.
These weren't standard shuttles or dropships, but specialized assault vessels that moved with the precision of military units that had performed this exact operation hundreds of times before. Sensors are picking up some kind of dispersal pattern from the human assault craft, his weapons officer reported.
They're releasing gas clouds around each target bioship before boarding. Chemical weapons? Zilnacta asked.
Negative, sir.
The analysis suggests biological agents. Specifically designed to target Kythera nervous systems. The bioships are going dormant before the humans even board them. The implications were staggering.
Not only did humans possess weapons capable of destroying Kythera bioships, but they had also developed biological agents that could neutralize the creatures inside.
This level of specialization didn't come from recent research. This was the result of decades of continuous warfare and study. Captain Chen, I need to ask you directly. How long have humans been fighting the Kythera?
There was a long pause before the human captain replied.
Commander, that's a complicated question. The first recorded human Kythera contact was 53 years ago when they hit our colony world of New Geneva. We lost 8 million people before we could evacuate. Since then, we've been tracking their movement patterns, studying their biology, and developing countermeasures. 8 million people. Zilnacta felt a chill run down his spine.
The largest Kythera attack on a council world had killed perhaps a few 100,000 before the evacuation was completed. Humans had lost 8 million in their first encounter and had somehow survived to build a fleet capable of hunting the swarm across the galaxy.
How many times have you faced them? Task Force Hammer alone has engaged Kythera swarms 47 times in the last decade. Fleet-wide, human forces have participated in over 300 actions against various hive clusters. We maintain dedicated anti-swarm fleets in 4 different sectors. 300 engagements. Zilnacta's mind struggled to process the number.
The Galactic Council's entire military history with the Kythera consisted of perhaps a dozen encounters spread across several centuries. Humans had been fighting them continuously for decades and had not only survived but had apparently won every single battle.
Commander, we're getting reports from the boarding teams, Captain Chen continued.
The larger bioships are neutralized, and we're conducting final sweeps to ensure no organisms survive. We should have the system completely clear within 4 hours.
4 hours? Zilnacta looked at his tactical display.
The Kythera swarm that had been systematically destroying his fleet was already down to less than 20% of its original strength. The remaining bioships were scattering in all directions, but the human fleet was pursuing them with a coordination that suggested extensive experience in exactly this type of operation.
Captain, I have to ask, why haven't we heard about this before? The Galactic Council has no record of human anti-Kythera operations. Another pause, this one longer and more thoughtful. Commander, humans tried to join the Galactic Council 40 years ago.
We were told that our species was too young and inexperienced to contribute meaningfully to galactic security. The Council suggested we focus on developing our own colonies and leave military matters to more established species.
The words hit Zilnacta like a physical blow. He remembered reading about the human application for Council membership.
It had been dismissed almost without discussion, relegated to a footnote in bureaucratic records. The Council had assumed that humans were just another minor species seeking the protection and trade benefits that came with membership. So you've been fighting the Kythera alone?
Not alone, Commander.
We've had help from a few other species that the Council also deemed too inexperienced for membership.
The Tauri, the Vegan Republic, the Free Worlds Alliance.
It turns out that being rejected by the establishment has some advantages. We've been able to develop tactics and weapons without being bound by Council doctrine. Zilnacta watched as the last cluster of Kythera bioships was systematically eliminated by human forces. The coordination was flawless, the firepower overwhelming, and the efficiency terrifying.
These weren't desperate defenders fighting for survival.
These were experienced soldiers conducting a routine cleanup operation.
Captain, once this is over, I think there are some conversations the Council needs to have with human leadership. I think you're right, Commander. But that's a discussion for diplomats.
Right now, my job is to make sure the Kythera don't get a chance to regroup and hit another defenseless system.
Another system. The implication was clear. Humans weren't just responding to this single emergency.
They were actively hunting Kythera swarms across multiple sectors, protecting species that didn't even know they existed.
How many other systems have you saved? In the last year?
17 successful interventions, plus another dozen where we arrived to find the system already evacuated. The Kythera are becoming more active, Commander.
This attack on Helios isn't an isolated incident.
Something has stirred them up, and they're ranging further from their traditional hunting grounds. The tactical display showed the final Kythera bioship being destroyed by concentrated fire from 3 human vessels. In less than 5 hours, a swarm that had been projected to consume the entire Helios system had been completely eliminated by a human fleet that nobody even knew existed.
System clear, Captain Chen announced. All Kythera organisms eliminated. Task Force Hammer is conducting final sweeps to ensure no biological material remains that could spawn a new generation.
Zilnakta leaned back in his command chair, trying to process everything that had just happened. His entire understanding of galactic politics and military capability had been turned upside down in a single engagement.
Humans weren't the minor, inexperienced species the Council had dismissed.
They were potentially the most dangerous military force in the galaxy, and they'd been operating in the shadows for decades. Captain Chen, on behalf of the Helios Defense Fleet and the 3 million colonists you just saved, I want to thank you. Just doing our job, Commander.
But I have a suggestion.
When you make your report to the Council, you might want to recommend that they reconsider their stance on human membership. The galaxy is getting more dangerous, and you're going to need all the help you can get. High Admiral Corvin Thexmar of the Galactic Council Defense Command had seen enough crisis reports in his 40-year career to recognize when something would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. The emergency briefing packet that Adjutant Vexthera had transmitted from the Helios incident was exactly that kind of document. He stood before the massive holographic display in the Council's strategic planning chamber, watching the recorded engagement play out for the 5th time. Around him, representatives from 12 major galactic powers observed in stunned silence as 37 human warships systematically dismantled a Kythera swarm in under 6 hours.
Computer, replay sequence 77 through A2, Thexmar commanded. The display focused on the moment when human marines had boarded the largest Kythera bioship. Standard Council doctrine considered such an action suicide.
Bioships were essentially living organisms filled with warrior forms specifically evolved to kill intruders.
Yet the humans had somehow neutralized the entire vessel before their troops even made contact.
Analysis confirms the use of biological agents specifically tailored to target Kythera nervous systems, reported Dr. Six Lana, the Council's chief xenobiologist. The level of specificity suggests extensive prior study and experimentation. These weren't improvised weapons. They were purpose-built tools developed over decades of research.
Ambassador Veltar from the Centauri Federation leaned forward in his hover chair. Dr. Six Lana, are you suggesting that humans have been conducting biological warfare research against the Kythera without Council oversight?
I'm suggesting that humans have been fighting the Kythera continuously for over 50 years and have developed countermeasures that our best scientists couldn't create with a century of theoretical research.
The room fell silent except for the soft hum of anti-grav generators. Thexmar paused the replay and turned to address the assembled representatives.
The implications of this engagement go far beyond simple military capability. According to the communications logs, humans maintain dedicated anti-swarm fleets in multiple sectors. They've conducted over 300 successful operations against Kythera forces.
General Kix Mano from the Altarian Republic activated his personal display.
Admiral, our intelligence services have no record of any such operations.
How is it possible for humans to have fought 300 battles without our knowledge? Because we weren't looking for them, Thexmar admitted.
Human membership application was rejected 40 years ago on the grounds that their species lacked the maturity and experience to contribute to galactic security. We classified them as a minor power and stopped monitoring their military development.
The implication hung heavy in the room.
While the Council had been dismissing humans as irrelevant, they had been quietly building the most effective anti-Kythera force in galactic history. The species that had been deemed too inexperienced to join the galactic community had been protecting that same community from its greatest threat. There's more, Thexmar continued, activating a new display.
Long-range sensor logs show human fleet movements in 17 different sectors over the past 6 months. Cross-referencing with reported Kythera sightings suggests they've been actively hunting swarm elements across a significant portion of the galaxy. Ambassador Lyxandra from the Omega Syndicate shifted uncomfortably in her biosuit. Admiral, are you telling us that humans have been conducting military operations in sovereign space without authorization?
I'm telling you that humans have been protecting sovereign space while we've been focused on trade disputes and territorial negotiations.
The question now is what we do about it. Dr. Six Lana activated her workstation. If I may, Admiral, I've been analyzing the weapon signatures from the human fleet.
The quantum dissolution arrays they used aren't just advanced technology. They're several generations beyond anything we have in development. The energy requirements alone should be impossible for ships of that size.
Explain.
Each human vessel was generating power levels equivalent to a Class A stellar facility while maintaining combat maneuvers. Their reactor technology is either completely revolutionary or based on principles we don't understand. Either way, it puts their military capability significantly beyond what we previously estimated.
Thexmar had suspected as much.
The casual way Captain Chen had deployed her fleet, the confidence in her voice when discussing Kythera tactics, the precision of the engagement, none of it matched the profile of an inexperienced species stumbling through their first major space battle.
Computer, display the human ship classification designated UES Retribution.
A hologram shifted to show detailed sensor scans of Captain Chen's flagship. What the Council had initially assumed was a heavy cruiser turned out to be something much more impressive. The vessel was nearly twice the size of a standard Council dreadnought, armed with weapon systems that defied classification, and protected by defensive fields that had completely ignored Kythera bioprojectiles. The ship design is unlike anything in our database, reported Commander Zyx Thala, the Council's chief naval architect. The hull configuration suggests it's built specifically for sustained combat against Kythera swarms. Multiple redundant systems, specialized armor plating, and what appears to be biological decontamination protocols built into the basic structure.
Meaning? Meaning this isn't a general-purpose warship that's been adapted for anti-Kythera operations. This vessel was designed from the ground up to fight bioships. The humans have been building specialized fleet units for decades. General Kixmano activated his personal communicator.
I'm ordering an immediate intelligence review of all human colony worlds and known fleet positions.
If they've been hiding this level of military capability, what else don't we know about them?
General, there may not be time for a comprehensive review, Thexmar interrupted. He activated a new display showing long-range sensor data from the outer rim.
We're detecting increased Kythera activity along the galactic edge.
3 new swarm signatures have appeared in the past week, each one larger than the force that hit Helios. The room erupted in concerned murmurs.
Ambassador Veltar stood from his chair. Admiral, are you suggesting we're facing a major Kythera resurgence?
I'm suggesting that whatever drove the swarm to attack Helios may be affecting Kythera behavior on a galactic scale. If humans are right about fighting them continuously for 50 years, then they may have intelligence about Kythera patterns that could be crucial to our survival.
Dr. Six Lana pulled up her analysis charts. The timing is suspicious. 3 centuries of dormancy, then, sudden increased activity just as human anti-swarm fleets are conducting operations across multiple sectors. Either humans have been provoking them, or they've been the only thing keeping the swarms contained. There's one way to find out, Thexmar decided.
We need to contact human leadership directly and arrange for a full briefing on their Kythera operations.
Ambassador Lyxandra activated her diplomatic protocols.
Admiral, such contact would be highly irregular.
Humans aren't council members, and we have no formal diplomatic relations with their government.
Ambassador, humans just saved 3 million council citizens and eliminated a threat that would have required our entire combined fleet to handle. I think irregular circumstances call for irregular solutions. General Kixmano was reviewing tactical data on his personal display.
Admiral, I've been analyzing the human fleet formation they used against the Kythera. It's based on principles I've never seen before.
Instead of maintaining distance and using overlapping fields of fire, they deliberately closed to short range and used coordinated alpha strikes.
Effectiveness?
Total. They achieved complete destruction of the swarm with zero losses and minimal ammunition expenditure.
If these tactics work consistently against Kythera forces, they represent a revolution in anti-swarm warfare. Commander ZYX Thala highlighted specific elements of the human formation.
The coordination required for this type of attack suggests extensive training and experience.
These aren't theoretical tactics they read about in a manual. These are proven methods developed through actual combat. Thexmar made his decision. I'm authorizing immediate contact with Human Fleet Command.
Dr. SIX Lana, I want a complete analysis of their biological warfare capabilities.
Commander ZYX Thala, focus on their ship design and tactical doctrine.
General Kixmano, coordinate with intelligence to map all known human military assets.
What about the political implications? Ambassador Veltar asked. The other council members won't be pleased to learn we've been essentially ignoring the most effective military force in the galaxy.
Then, they shouldn't have voted to reject human membership 40 years ago, Thexmar replied bluntly. We made a mistake based on incomplete information and prejudicial assumptions. Now we need to fix it before the Kythera make us pay for our arrogance.
Dr. SIX Lana activated her communication array. Admiral, I'm detecting an incoming transmission on the emergency military frequency.
The sender identifies as Admiral Rebecca Martinez, Human Deep Space Command.
Put her through immediately. The holographic display shifted to show a human female in a military uniform that Thexmar didn't recognize.
Her expression was professional but carried an undertone of concern that made him immediately pay attention.
Hi Admiral Thexmar, I'm Admiral Martinez commanding human anti-swarm operations in this sector. I understand you've been briefed on our intervention at Helios. Admiral Martinez, yes.
I was hoping we could arrange a more detailed discussion about human capabilities and Kythera intelligence.
Admiral, I'm afraid that discussion is going to have to wait. We've detected massive swarm movements along the galactic rim.
3 separate hive clusters are mobilizing for what appears to be coordinated strikes against Council space. Task Force Hammer handled a single swarm at Helios, but what's coming next is going to require everything we have.
Thexmar felt his blood chill. Admiral, are you saying the Helios attack was just the beginning? I'm saying the Helios attack was a probe, Admiral.
The real invasion is about to begin, and neither human nor Council forces can handle it alone. We need to work together, and we need to do it now. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime 18 hours after Admiral Martinez's warning. Representatives from every major power in the galaxy sat in stunned silence as holographic displays showed the scope of the approaching Kythera invasion. 3 massive swarm clusters, each containing over 10,000 bioships, were moving toward the galactic core along separate vectors. High Admiral Thexmar stood at the center of the chamber, his 4 arms gesturing toward tactical projections that painted a grim picture. Computer analysis indicates the 3 swarms will reach major population centers within 72 hours. Conservative estimates suggest they're carrying enough warrior forms to consume every inhabited world in their path. Ambassador Veltar from the Centauri Federation activated his speaking platform.
Admiral, what are our defensive options? Can we concentrate our combined fleets to stop them? Negative, Ambassador.
Even if we could coordinate the logistical nightmare of combining 12 different military forces with incompatible technologies and command structures, our total available firepower would be insufficient. The swarms have learned from previous encounters.
These aren't random attacks. They're coordinated strikes designed to overwhelm our defenses.
The chamber erupted in concerned voices from dozens of species. Some called for immediate evacuation of threatened worlds. Others demanded emergency military production. A few suggested diplomatic contact with the Kythera, despite the fact that the bioships had never shown any interest in negotiation.
Order! Thexmar commanded.
We have a potential solution, but it requires unprecedented cooperation.
The voices died down as representatives focused their attention on the Admiral.
He activated a new display showing human fleet positions across multiple sectors. Human Deep Space Command has offered to coordinate joint operations against all 3 swarm clusters. They have the specialized equipment and tactical experience necessary to engage Kythera forces effectively.
However, they're requesting something in return. Chancellor VYX Mara from the Altarian Republic leaned forward in her ceremonial armor. What kind of request, Admiral?
Full Council membership for humanity, immediate military alliance treaties with all member species, and complete tactical command authority for the duration of the crisis. The chamber exploded in outraged voices. The idea of granting an unknown species complete military authority over Council forces was unprecedented and politically explosive.
Ambassador Lyxandra from the Omega Syndicate stood, her biosuit glowing with agitation.
Admiral, you're asking us to surrender command of our sovereign military forces to a species that isn't even a Council member.
That's completely unacceptable. Ambassador, would you prefer to surrender your worlds to the Kythera?
The voice came from the chamber's main entrance, where a group of humans in military uniforms had just arrived. The speaker was Admiral Rebecca Martinez, flanked by two other officers and what appeared to be a tactical specialist carrying portable holoprojectors.
Thexmar gestured for calm. Admiral Martinez, thank you for coming.
I believe the Council would benefit from hearing your assessment directly. Martinez moved to the center of the chamber with the confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds and survived. She activated her portable projector, and, suddenly, the chamber was filled with detailed tactical data that made the Council's own analysis look primitive by comparison. Honorable representatives, let me be clear about what you're facing.
These aren't random Kythera swarms looking for easy targets.
This is a coordinated extinction event designed to test galactic defenses before the main hive clusters arrive. General Kixmano from the Altarian Republic accessed his personal display.
Admiral, you're saying there are larger forces behind these three swarms?
General, what you're seeing is approximately 5% of total Kythera strength.
Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive movements in the void between galaxies.
Something has awakened the entire swarm, and they're coming here in numbers that will make these three clusters look like scouting parties.
Dr. Six Lana activated her xenobiology workstation.
Admiral, our understanding was that the Kythera reproduce slowly and maintain relatively stable population levels. Doctor, that was true when they were dormant and feeding on uninhabited worlds. But 50 years ago, they discovered something that changed their behavior permanently. They found out that sentient species provide exponentially more bioenergy than simple organic matter. The implication sent a chill through the chamber.
Chancellor Vyx Mara stood from her seat. Admiral, are you saying that contact with galactic civilization has made them more dangerous?
I'm saying that first contact with humans accidentally taught them that intelligent life is the ultimate food source.
Since then, they've been systematically hunting every advanced species they can find. The attacks on human colonies weren't random.
They were experiments designed to understand how much energy they could harvest from technological civilizations. Martinez manipulated her display to show historical data spanning 5 decades. Every human colony that's been hit, every world we've evacuated, every battle we've fought has been part of a larger pattern.
The Kythera have been studying us just as much as we've been studying them.
Ambassador Veltar activated his speaking platform.
Admiral, if humans have known this for 50 years, why didn't you warn the galactic community?
We tried, Ambassador. 40 years ago, humanity formally applied for Council membership specifically to share our intelligence about the Kythera threat. We were told that our species was too inexperienced and that we should focus on our own development rather than concerning ourselves with galactic security matters. The words hit the chamber like a physical blow.
Every representative present remembered the human membership application.
It had been dismissed as the naive request of a primitive species seeking protection from more advanced neighbors.
Since then, Martinez continued, humans have been forced to develop anti-Kythera capabilities in isolation.
We've built specialized fleets, developed biological weapons, created tactics and technologies specifically designed to fight bioships. We've saved 17 Council worlds in the last year alone, always operating in the shadows because we weren't considered worthy of official recognition.
Thexmar activated his command authority. Admiral Martinez, can human forces stop the 3 incoming swarms? Alone? No.
Human Deep Space Command can field approximately 200 specialized anti-swarm vessels across all sectors. That's enough to handle maybe one of the 3 clusters, assuming perfect coordination and acceptable losses. But we can't be in 3 places at once, and we can't replace our casualties fast enough to handle sustained operations.
What do you need from us?
Martinez gestured to her tactical specialist, who began projecting detailed fleet compositions and battle plans. We need Council fleets to act as support elements while human forces handle direct Kythera engagement. Your ships aren't equipped to fight bioships effectively, but they can provide long-range fire support, electronic warfare capabilities, and logistical support for extended operations.
General Kixmano studied the projected battle plans. Admiral, these tactics require unprecedented coordination between species with completely different military doctrines. General, standard military doctrine doesn't work against the Kythera. They adapt too quickly to conventional tactics. The only way to fight them effectively is to hit them with weapons and strategies they can't predict or counter. That requires thinking beyond traditional approaches. Dr. Six Lana accessed the biological warfare data. Admiral, these chemical agents you've developed specifically target Kythera nervous systems. How did you develop such precise biological weapons? Doctor, when the Kythera hit New Geneva, they left behind biological samples. We've had 50 years to study their cellular structure, genetic patterns, and biochemical vulnerabilities. Every human colony that's been attacked has contributed data to our research programs. The reality was becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. While the Council had been focused on politics and trade agreements, humans had been conducting the largest xenobiology research project in galactic history. They hadn't just been fighting the Kythera, they'd been systematically studying and developing countermeasures against the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. Chancellor Vyx Mara activated her ceremonial authority. Admiral Martinez, if we grant your requests for Council membership and tactical command authority, can you guarantee the survival of the threatened worlds?
Chancellor, I can guarantee that human forces will do everything possible to protect those worlds. But I can't guarantee success against these odds.
What I can guarantee is that without human coordination and anti-Kythera technology, those worlds will definitely be lost. The chamber fell silent as representatives considered their options. The choice was stark: swallow their pride and accept human leadership, or watch entire civilizations be consumed by an enemy they couldn't effectively fight. Ambassador Lyxandra was the first to speak. Admiral, if we agree to this arrangement, what happens after the immediate crisis is resolved? Ambassador, after we deal with these 3 swarms, we prepare for the main invasion. Because this is just the beginning. The real Kythera fleet is still coming, and, when it arrives, it will make today's crisis look like a minor skirmish. Thexmar made the decision that would reshape galactic politics forever. I'm calling for an emergency vote on immediate Council membership for humanity and temporary tactical command authority for human forces. All in favor?
One by one, every representative in the chamber raised their hands. The species that had been deemed too inexperienced for Council membership 40 years earlier had just been given complete authority over the largest military operation in galactic history. Admiral Martinez, Thexmar announced formally, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I hereby grant you command authority over all available military assets for anti-Kythera operations. Your species is welcomed as a full Council member with all associated rights and responsibilities.
Martinez nodded grimly. Thank you, Admiral. Now let's see if we can save the galaxy.
Admiral Rebecca Martinez stood in the command center of the UES Prometheus, humanity's largest deep space mobile command platform, watching as the greatest military operation in galactic history unfolded across multiple star systems. Around her, tactical displays showed the positions of over 800 vessels from 12 different species, all coordinated through human command protocols for the first time in galactic history. Admiral, Task Force Bravo reports successful engagement with Swarm Cluster 2, announced Commander Sarah Chen, now serving as Martinez's tactical coordinator. Centauri Federation ships provided excellent long-range support while our anti-swarm units handled close engagement. Casualties? Minimal on our side. The Centauri lost 1 heavy cruiser to bioprojectile impact, but their crew evacuated successfully. Total swarm elimination achieved in 4 hours, 37 minutes. Martinez nodded, but her attention was focused on the larger tactical picture. 2 of the 3 swarm clusters had been eliminated through coordinated human council operations, but the third and largest cluster had changed course at the last minute. Instead of heading for the populated vegan colonies as projected, it was now burning directly toward the galactic core. Admiral, called out Lieutenant Commander Torres from the intelligence station, long-range sensors are detecting something unusual about Swarm Cluster 3. Energy readings suggest it's not just bioships. There's something else in there. Specify. Ma'am, I'm reading what appears to be a massive construct at the center of the swarm.
It's approximately 50 kilometers long and generating power levels that dwarf anything we've encountered before.
Martinez felt a cold chill run down her spine. In 50 years of fighting the Kythera, humans had never encountered anything matching that description.
Get me Admiral Fexmar immediately.
The holographic communicator activated, showing the Galactic Council's senior military commander aboard his flagship.
Admiral Martinez, I've been following your progress. Congratulations on the successful eliminations. Admiral, we may have a bigger problem than anticipated. The third swarm is carrying something we've never seen before. I'm transmitting sensor data now. Fexmar's expression darkened as he reviewed the intelligence reports.
Admiral, this energy signature, it's similar to readings we recorded 3 centuries ago during the last major Kythera incursion.
But, those were theoretical projections, not confirmed observations. What kind of theoretical projections?
Our xenobiologists hypothesized that the Kythera might eventually develop specialized command organisms. Creatures capable of coordinating multiple swarms simultaneously and adapting their tactics in real time based on enemy responses.
Martinez understood immediately.
You're talking about a Kythera intelligence capable of learning from every battle we've fought over the past 50 years.
Exactly.
If such a creature exists and has been observing human anti-swarm operations, it could have developed countermeasures to your specialized weapons and tactics.
The implications were staggering.
Every successful human engagement against the Kythera, every tactical innovation, every biological weapon that had given them an advantage could now be turned against them by an intelligence that had been studying their methods for decades. Admiral, Commander Chen called out urgently, I'm detecting massive hyperspace distortions throughout the outer rim.
Something big is coming, and it's coming fast. Martinez activated the strategic display, and her worst fears were confirmed. The sensor readings showed dozens of massive hyperspace signatures approaching from the void between galaxies.
Each signature was the size of a major space station, and they were arranged in formations that suggested coordination and intelligence.
Admiral Fexmar, are you seeing this? Confirmed, Admiral Martinez.
Deep space monitoring stations are reporting similar readings across multiple sectors.
Whatever awakened the Kythera is finally revealing itself. Lieutenant Commander Torres looked up from her station with an expression of barely controlled panic.
Admiral, preliminary analysis suggests we're looking at over 200 major bioconstructs, each one potentially carrying millions of warrior forms.
This isn't just an invasion. This is an extinction event. Martinez activated the general communication system, broadcasting to every ship in the combined Human Council fleet. All vessels, this is Admiral Martinez. Long-range sensors have confirmed the arrival of the main Kythera fleet.
This is significantly larger than anything we've prepared for, but we knew this day would come. She paused, looking around the command center at officers from a dozen different species working together with a coordination that would have been impossible just days earlier. For 50 years, humanity has been fighting the Kythera in isolation, developing weapons and tactics to protect not just our own worlds but every inhabited system in the galaxy.
Today, we're no longer alone.
The tactical display updated to show fleet positions as human and council ships began coordinating for what everyone knew would be the most critical battle in galactic history.
The Kythera have evolved beyond anything we've faced before.
They've studied our methods, analyzed our weaknesses, and developed countermeasures to our advantages. But they've made one crucial mistake.
Admiral Fexmar appeared on the communication channel. What mistake is that, Admiral? They've assumed that human tactics and human technology represent the full extent of galactic military capability.
They've spent 50 years studying how humans fight the Kythera, but they have no data on how humans and the rest of the galaxy fight together.
Commander Chen began coordinating with fleet elements across multiple star systems.
Admiral, Task Forces Alpha and Bravo are repositioning to support the main engagement. Council fleets are integrating their electronic warfare systems with our targeting protocols.
Excellent. What's the status on our biological warfare capabilities? Dr. Reeves reports that the new agent compounds are ready for deployment. The combination of human anti-Kythera toxins with Altarian bioenhancement technology should be significantly more effective than anything we've used before. Martinez smiled grimly.
The Kythera had indeed learned how to counter human weapons and tactics, but they had no experience with weapons that combined human biological research with alien enhancement technologies. The forced cooperation between species that had never worked together before was about to provide the galaxy with its greatest advantage.
Admiral Martinez, Admiral Fexmar's voice carried a tone of respect that had been absent during their first communications. What are your orders?
It was a question that would have been impossible a week earlier. The species that had been rejected for council membership 40 years ago was now commanding the largest fleet in galactic history, coordinating technologies from dozens of different civilizations, and preparing to face an enemy that threatened every sentient species in the galaxy. All fleets, prepare for coordinated assault. We're going to hit them with everything we have, using tactics they can't predict and weapons they've never encountered.
The Kythera have been studying how individual species fight. Today, they're going to learn what happens when the entire galaxy fights as one. The main display showed the approaching Kythera fleet in all its terrifying magnificence.
Hundreds of bioconstructs the size of moons, accompanied by millions of smaller warrior forms, advancing in formations that suggested intelligence and coordination beyond anything previously encountered.
Commander Chen, signal all ships. Operation Galactic Unity is now in effect.
Target assignments are being distributed through the tactical network.
Remember, we're not just fighting for our individual species anymore.
We're fighting for the right of intelligent life to exist in this galaxy. As the combined fleet moved toward the largest space battle in galactic history, Martinez reflected on the irony of the situation. Humans had applied for council membership to share their knowledge and contribute to galactic security. They had been rejected as too inexperienced and too primitive to be useful partners. Now, 40 years later, that same inexperienced species was leading every advanced civilization in the galaxy against an enemy that none of them could face alone. The council had finally learned what humans had been trying to tell them for decades: in the face of extinction, political status and technological superiority meant nothing compared to the willingness to stand together against the darkness.
Admiral, all fleets report ready for engagement, Commander Chen announced.
Martinez looked out at the tactical display one last time, seeing hundreds of ships from dozens of species united under human command for the first time in galactic history. Whatever happened in the next few hours would determine whether intelligent life survived in their galaxy or whether the Kythera would consume everything they had built over millions of years of civilization.
All ships, this is Admiral Martinez. Today we make our stand. Today we show the Kythera that the galaxy is not defenseless. Today we fight as one.
The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and humanity would lead the charge.